Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Vedic Religion, Chapter 4, Religious Division of Work. For the society's well-being, a lot of work is to be done by the members of the society, some by brain and some by brawn. In them, many varieties are there. All of that is for the society as a whole. It is completely wrong to consider some as higher and some as lower. All the families need many items such as food, grocery, clothes, furniture, medicines, electronics, communications, roads, rail, automobiles, aircrafts, and so many more items. For this, all of us cannot be manufacturing everything. Can all of us be involved in agriculture, trade and commerce, defense, administration, and management? The farmer works for everybody's sake. The cloth manufacturer is not making clothes for his requirements only, but for the sake of the society's needs. Some are in the police for the sake of law and order. Some work in the defense forces for the nation. Similarly, it is essential for some people to be involved in prayers and devotional activities for everyone's sake. This mutual sharing of work has been beautifully streamlined and orchestrated for the sake of social amity by our Dharma Shastras. How to do the distribution of work? If it has to be based on capabilities, everyone thinks of his or her own capability as very high indeed. If it is to be based on their aptitudes, then everyone would prefer to have positions of high income and status. Then what happens to the jobs not so preferred? How to distribute the human resources all over the society and fit them to the jobs? It is not enough to do it once. It has to be done and updated constantly from generation to generation and in infinitum. This is a big HRD problem of mammoth proportions confronting all the nations of the world. How can the assessment of worth and aptitude of any person be done from outside? Even if we make an assessment, how correct is it going to be? If anyone can compete for all jobs, how can this be possible? Who is to assess whom? Who should do the distribution of work? So the works were distributed based on hereditary capabilities and aptitudes. Thus Varna Dharmam was created. Whatever the work that we get by heredity, if we take it as God-given order and do it with the understanding that it is for the general welfare of the society at large, the same work becomes the most appropriate for all personal benefit also. The job content in each type of work is such that it will automatically cater for the double requirement of his own and the society's well-being. If we tell a man who has to work in the fields to fast, it will not be appropriate. As against this, a man who has to use his brains more than his physical powers should have more restrictions requiring him to fast. He is required to bathe, observe fasts, or subsist on less, aimed at making him less and less dependent on bodily identification. The point to clearly understand is that all the religious observances are in relation to the type of work the individual is required to do. In this connection, one may recall as to how Narada's bloated self-esteem was deflated by Bhagavan Vishnu by pointing out that his greatest devotee was not Narada but a farmer whose only act of devotion every day was to utter Narayana sincerely once. While going out for work, and once before going to sleep. Even when we do not understand the reason why, if we sincerely observe the minimum duties as required of us in that particular Varna Dharma, later with understanding, we will find them very useful and appropriate. We should observe our Dharma as enjoined and assist others to do so. Instead of leaving our own Dharma or joining others in their ways, we should be enabling others to stick to their own. In work, we are equal. For the smooth functioning of the society, the work has been distributed. Sticking to Varna Dharma can and does contribute towards general welfare, while simultaneously aiding self cleansing. If everyone goes about doing his own thing, the public works will suffer because today everybody wants others' money to flow into their own purse. More the merrier is the motto. In the name of reform, we should not deform the society. Whosoever does whatsoever work, the government is duty bound to make available the essentials such as food, clothing, and living space. But if we keep on increasing our needs, it leads to competitiveness and jealousy. The present situation is complicated because of the fact that all sense of satisfaction has somehow been interpreted as money based. Instead, if we look forward to self satisfaction through doing one's duty, we will have the feeling of being master of one's own destiny. Then there will be peace everywhere. There are many eatables in food, many ragas in music, and many varieties in nature. Some way there are many works to be done. Because there is salt in rasam, we cannot add salt to other dishes meant to be sweet. That will become rasabasam, that is incongruous monstrosity. If we mix ragas or use one swara even not meant to be in that raga, it will become rasabasam. Nowadays, people have lost taste for rasa. Learned Pandits, in between serious talks on Puranas, tend to add jokes and people laugh and appreciate. When there are many healthy things to partake, people use the unhealthy, tasteless tobacco for nasal inhalation or chewing or smoking. These are small rasabasams. The biggest rasabasam is to make a meaningless mix and mockery of Varna Dharmam, which in real fact is the best arrangement for common welfare. KTSV adds, today's topic is the first one on Varna Dharmam. When I think of the present day situation and related it to the conditions obtaining about 5 to 6 decades back, my blood starts boiling with cine actors affronting the entire masses of devotees to go and do the stupid thing of touching Ayyappa statue at Shabari. Tamil Nadu government actively trying to make the priest's job in all temples open to non-Brahmins. As Perival says in para above, they are deforming the society in the name of reforming. I do not know whom to get annoyed with. Then I remember hearing or reading somewhere that only 5,000 years of Kali Yuga is over. Balance is 3,27,000 years. That means that we are going to witness much more Rasabasam. Chapter 5, Duties of Persons Belonging to Particular Varna. In olden times, for cooking food in the house, all sorts of inflammable materials such as waste paper, dry twigs, and leaves of plants around the house were made use of. On rainy days, It used to be a great problem to get the fire going, but once a few sparks were there, they would fan it or blow their breath through a hollow pipe, quickly turning the spark into a blazing fire. Similarly, I am trying to light up the Sanatana Dharma from a few sparks left in some of the elders and spread it in the whole society. That is my ambition. That is why I am telling you all this. In our Sanatana Dharma, because this Varna Dharma is a special asset, the so called reformists are keen on doing away with this Varna Dharma as unnecessary and bring us at par with other religions of the world. Okay, what is a religion for? It is meant to cure man of his disease. It is the prerogative of the doctor to do prognosis and diagnosis. It is not the job of a person with no medical knowledge. The great rishis of yore, who lived a life of absolute self negation, avoided materialistic acquisition, and devoted their entire effort and energy in identifying the ways and means of common good, are the doctors who suggested this medicine of Varna Dharma for us. In other countries, other doctors have advised certain other methods and medicines. You cannot tell a doctor to give you a particular treatment because some other doctor is doing so. There are many medicines. Some are easy or sweet, some may be bitter. Some diseases may need surgery. Methods may also vary depending on the approach, such as allopathy, Ayurvedic, Unani, and homeopathy. Disciplines, if we follow one, we may get cured, but if we make a mix, we may never get cured. Other religions talk about the general principles. These are already available in Sanatana Dharma as Samanya Dharma or common principles of attitude and behavior as applicable to all sections of the society, ahimsa or not being cruel to all living things, truthfulness, purity or cleanliness of mind and body, control of senses, that is not indulging in sensual pursuits, devotion to God, respect to parents, elders and teachers, honesty, integrity, loyalty and such noble virtues, treating all living beings with love, and such are part of Samanya Dharma in our religion. In addition, some special and specific rules and regulations have been evolved for the people of the four Varnas, that is known as Varna Dharma. Had these special dharmas been made applicable to all, it might have ended up in no one following any of them. I will give you an example. In Buddhism, vegetarianism was a general dharma, but what do we see in Buddhist nations? Mostly everybody is a non vegetarian there in those countries. Our rishis were aware of human nature, so they kept vegetarianism as a requirement for only some, and seeing them, many others too may and do give up eating non vegetarian food. Wherever all the restrictions have been kept as general requirements, such religions have either disappeared or in the dying throes. The Hellenic in the West, in Greece, the Hebrew religions of Central Asia, Shinto and Confucius religions of the East are all in bits and pieces here and there. In their place nowadays are the religions of Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam. They have some common rules and regulations as applicable to all the followers of their religion, but strict adherence to these rules are going by default almost everywhere. Either they are becoming non practicing religionists or non believers, or many are unhappy with their own religion and so are turning to yoga, bhakti marg, and jnana vichara, etc. How long is this state of affairs going to last is anybody's guess. Religion seems to be more a cause of quarrels between nations than the purpose for which the religions come into being. I am not saying this because I am a Hindu religion leader and I want to put down other religions. I wish that all people should progress intrinsically from within their own religion. I am not calling anybody to come to our religion. I believe that such calling is against the basic tenets of Hindu religion. I also believe that nothing happens by accident. Depending on the maturity level of each, God causes people to be born into various religions and they can and should progress through their own religion. Accepting whatever God has started us with is my belief. When I point out some special concepts and principles of Hindu religion, it is not being done to decry other religions or for inviting them to join us. The purpose is threefold. First, so that they can understand us better and show them as to how some of their criticisms are invalid. Second, to tell some of our own followers not to go at a tangent and believe the criticisms of people from other religions without knowing the logic of the ground realities. By understanding and accepting some of these, other religions too could benefit. Whatever the religion, what is the basic priority? One idea, that is to believe in God and to be devoted to God. Since in those religions too, devotion or bhakti is of equal importance, accepting some of these ideas cannot be hurting them. I am not saying that those religions are in a bad shape. Arnold Toynbee, Paul Brunton, Coilster are some famous thinkers who have opined the way I have spoken. What they have said is that world over there is a general belief in God and religion, and day by day there are more people becoming atheists. We are also seeing that religion today is more of a political platform than a personal procedure for self ennobling. Even in India, this trend is noticeable. But what other foreigners say after observing many countries is that comparatively in India, still religion is more in practice than elsewhere. That is why people from all over the world still flock to India if they have religious aspirations. When we look into it more closely, what we see is that in India too, there is a decline in the level of belief and understanding. Doubtlessly, this belief is concurrent with the increased demand for doing away with Varna Dharma. This is surprising. Let me explain. One would expect that a religion in which the general populace is subdivided into smaller parts may lose cohesion and integrity. It has not been so in our case. From the time of Alexander the Great, India has been subjected to repeated invasions by marauding hordes of many other religionists, and that ended with India being ruled over by a variety of Muslims for some 3 to 4 centuries and then becoming a British colony. Had the Hindu religion gone out of existence in the interregnum, it would have been a natural historical fact, but the reality is different. While religions in which all were required to observe a common protocol have disappeared, this Hindu religion has survived and is flourishing. In the case of other religions, in addition to disbelief and atheism, We often hear of a fear psychosis being expressed that the religion is in peril. We should logically analyze this without becoming too sentimental. What is the secret of success of this nameless religion, recently known as Hindu religion, that it has thrived in all these millenniums despite following Varna Dharma, where the Brahmins, who had the unenviable responsibility to, to persevere and protect the Vedas and Shastras in majority? No. Did they have the power of the sword or gun on their side? No. Were the Brahmins having money, power? No. That some Brahmins started becoming rich is a recent aberration within the past 3 centuries. As per Shastras, Brahmins are required to be poor only. Then how is that the Varna Dharma said to be imposed by the Brahmins without majority, without power of the sword and health, were acceptable to rest of the people? Were all the people duped? Even if they were duped for thousands of years, why didn't they wake up? When a person like Buddha or Mahavira came along, these two religions told them quite convincingly, let us do away with Varna Dharma. Let us stop these yagas and Vedas. All people need to have only one common Dharma. Let us do away with Sanskrit. Let us use the common man's language of Pali. Let us pioneer a new path with new Shastras. Some people did join the new religions. Then again slowly, these two religions of Buddhism and Jainism declined. The old Vaidikam Matham again flourished, holding its head high. One great man said, in the human body with 9 holes, dying is not a surprise, living is. Similarly, subjected to attacks from within and without, over all these years, had this Vaidika Sanatana Dharma died, it would not have been a surprise. The fact that it is thriving is a surprise. What do we understand from this? If we analyze this dispassionately, when in this and other countries religions have come and gone, the longevity of Hinduism indicates that there is something in this religion not available in others. What is that? At the interactive level, it is Varna Ashrama Dharma. Though the reformists claim that this Varna Dharma is the reason for the decline of the religion, opposite seems to be the case. Contrary to the much drummed about equality, there is some inherent logic in the Varna Dharma, which is the cause of the religion's longevity and never say die attitude. 6. Unity in diversity. Looking at the Varna Dharma and the criticisms leveled against the so-called casteism, one idea occurs to me. Initially, when they made the airship Zeppelin, they made one airbag carry all its weight. Then they found that even one small tear in the fabric of the airbag resulted in the destruction and collapse of the entire structure. So they started making it a collection of a number of airbags as the load carrying structure and the ship could serve its purpose. This is what has been done in our religious social structure, with the whole society being made up of a number of castes with their own workload and rules of morality, proving the principle of unity in diversity. If you make a bundle of a number of small twigs, it is a difficult job anyhow. Greater the number of twigs, greater the task. Then if you somehow manage to say tie up 50 twigs, say even if you move one out of the bundle, the whole thing will become loose. The more you pull out of the bundle, greater will be the loss of cohesion. Instead of so tying the component elements in one bundle, If you make a number of smaller bundles and then tie up all the bundles together, look at the resultant strength of the structure. Now there will be greater unity and integrity. The same principle applies to the binding ties in a nation's society too. It is nay impossible to place a whole lot of people of a society into one lot and then expect cohesion and control. That is why they divided the whole society into 4 groups known as Varna based on their traditional and hereditary work, preferences, and abilities. Each Varna was further divided into smaller groups of jati. Each jati had a jati natanmai as a head responsible for keeping them under some basic behavioral control with powers to supervise, advise, correct and punish if need be. Now the government too corrects and punishes, but this process misses out on the aspects of proper supervision, counseling and correction. The effect is in a proliferation of crimes and exploitation. But the punishment by the Jati Natanmai those days resulted in such a loss of face and prestige that further misbehavior was obviated. So, till as recently as the start of the previous century, as far as possible, people were well behaved with very little work for the police and magistrate courts. If you ask me as to how those punishments by Natanme was so powerful and as to what were those punishments, the answer is just one phrase, Jati Bhrashtam. Whether he was a carpenter or shoemaker or barber, to be thrown out of one's caste was considered as such a great insult, hurting the very core of one's existence. What do we understand from this? We understand that none from any caste were considered as background or depressed. Within their own caste, they were their own rulers and controllers. So, to be thrown out of their caste was such an intolerable punishment. If any caste was considered as senior or superior, then automatically there would have been inferiority superiority complexes galore. That would mean that other than Brahmins and Kshatriyas, other people couldn't have had so much pride in their jati and wouldn't have minded the jati bhrashtam as a great punishment. But when in practice, those days, when in the name of jati, people well ensconced in their respective jati as clearly defined small societies, they had mutual love and regards for themselves and others of that part of the society. So, to be banished from their own part of the society was seen as such a great punishment. In the present day, the condition is different. Having been classified as backward classes entitled to so many reservations and pecuniary benefits, they are sticking on to their classes for those benefits and not because of the pride in being part of that portion of the society. Those days, there were no such reservations. Still, what we have seen till some 4 or 5 generations back was that they had deep pride in belonging to their part of the society. The history of India does not contain even a single case of caste based conflicts and competitions. Truly, people had a rightful pride in belonging to their part of the caste. Jati learning their respective jobs, following their customs and traditions with pride and satisfaction. How different is the state of affairs in the present day world? There are objections, demonstrations, and protests galore at the drop of a hat, so to say. When the police arrive to control the protesters, the police become the target for stones and such missiles. In the earlier days, nobody dare oppose the Jati Natanmay because the policeman is considered as an outsider and Jati Natanmay was our man, worthy of our respect and admiration. So, without resort to weapons and force, the Natanmay those days could maintain discipline in the society. People, despite being divided into so many jati with their own special traits, customs, and traditions, were united as people of one state or one nation. That was unity in diversity. Chapter 7, Division of Labor and Division of Minds. I said caste came into being to carry out a particular set of works. Accordingly were evolved the necessary rules and observances for that set of people. This is wrong. There is no caste for work or work for caste. Do not connect them like this. Why and how were the twigs tied into small bundles? Who decided as to so and so caste should do so and so type of work? In the world till date, it is observed that despite years of struggle, both in democratic and non-democratic and communistic countries, this division of labor has been wished for but has not been successful. Neither has it been possible to do away with the division of the society into a number of classes. There is a pecking order among birds. Within the pride of lions, there is an order in which they devour the prey. For a society to function effectively, different types of work, jobs have to be done. So there has to be a division of labor. But how to match the demand for work to be done with demand for employment? Everyone competes for easy jobs and more remuneration. So, what we find is that everywhere there is more work, more competition, more disappointments, more complaints of favoritism, and more unemployment. This is the state of affairs not only in poor developing countries but also in the so called advanced countries. In our country, where the division of labor was based on hereditary, till such a system was not interfered with, there was peace, happiness, satisfaction, and mutual respect. Even a shoemaker was not a disgruntled man. Actually, one of the shoemakers was a Nayanmar, that is a Shiva Bhakta, who used to do his business only after offering a pair of sandals made by him to some devotee of Shiva free of cost every day. Then we talk of spiritual advancement. Having instigated everybody's ill founded desires, everyone has been pushed into dissatisfaction and disgruntlement. Then, everywhere there is a talk of more progress on the same lines. Those days, there was no over ambition. People found more happiness in mutual trust and love in smaller communities. Belief in religion, devotion to God, and pride in having their special devotional functions enabled them to lead a satisfied life. Most importantly, they did not have the dissatisfaction that arises out of consumerism and overindulgence. Though divided into a number of castes and communities, in the name of God, they were united. Though each had their Kula Deivam or family deity, there was a big temple in the village town. Life in that village or town was centered on the daily and periodic activities in the temple. All the people were aware of the fact that they are children of that god. When the idol of the god was kept in a huge chariot of mammoth proportions, all the people joined hands to pull that chariot. At that time, caste and creed did not prevent rubbing of the shoulders. To think of those days is to feel bad with nostalgia. No heartburn, no cursing. You did your job and were happy in heart. When we think of all this, it is clear that it is wrong to conclude that despite the division into a number of castes and subcastes, the Hindu society managed to withstand many onslaughts. The fact is that it is because of its division into a number of communities mutually complementing each other in terms of division of labor and sharing of benefits that the Hindu society has remained ever actively alive not only for years but ages and eons. When we look at the destruction out of reckoning of those big and huge religions which talked of only general moral principles and had one unitary society, and also observe that similar religions today are looking at their own future with fear and apprehension, it becomes clear as to why all the twigs were not made into one bundle but divided into smaller ones of smaller bundles, and each individually and collectively tied by the cord of devotion to God in Varna Dharmam, it is that which has kept the Hindu society live and ever regenerated. The religions that had only a common code of conduct, when influenced by other religions from within and or without, fell to pieces and disintegrated. But the Hindu Sanatana Vedic Varna Ashrama Dharma has had to face many such contingencies from within and without. Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism have evolved from within. Parsi, Jaivism, Christianity, and Islam have all come to India from the west and north. We accept whatever is good in them and ignore what does not suit. We have not only accommodated all of them but also revered Buddha, Mahavira, and the Sikh Gurus. This is the only country in the world where the Jews have who landed here during the Exodus were not haunted but welcomed, and the Jews could find a home away from home. Similar is the case of Zoroastrian followers known as Parsis who were haunted out of Persia, and a trickle that thrived in India as a community have lived retaining their unique customs and traditions without any intermingling. Muslims are the biggest minority with a major say in politics, and Christians are the second biggest minority in India. Their total populations may exceed that of many countries. Sufi saints Kabir Das and Sai Baba are clear indications of a confluence of Advaita philosophy and Muslim beliefs. The effect of Hinduism and Christianity is an area for research and analysis. Buddhism and Jainism have evolved out of some aspects of the Vedic Hindu religion. Sikhism was virtually evolved to make the Hindu fight against the Muslim marauders. What does it all prove? Understand, accept if possible, absorb or live and let live has been the response and attitude of the Hindus towards other religions and beliefs. This tolerance and acceptance is an inbuilt characteristic in the Hindu philosophy as well as in the procedural and practical aspects. Mughal influence in India was more noticeable in dress, music, sculpture, architecture, and literature. This happened more in northern India than in the south. After the Britishers came, some French and Portuguese included, the belief in Vedic Dharma has reduced slowly and steadily in the entire India. Why? Why do the political leaders talk about Varna Dharma as casteism, as though removal of that is a panacea for all social evils of the society? Why is there a widespread belief that Jati is the biggest stumbling block preventing the nation's progress? It has become a phobia that if you mention Jati, even in passing, you may be put in jail. KTSV adds, in the 5 or 6 decades since when Periwal must have spoken this, we know that this has become a tool in the hands of narrow minded and vested political interests. I will tell you the reason why and also point out as to who is responsible for this a little later. First, let me tell you as to why there are people out to destroy the Varna Dharma. Possibly they feel that in Varna Dharma, the disparities between the different Varnas are too much. Possibly they are sincere about wanting to remove the disparities and bring everyone on equal footing and thereby lift up the whole society. But is this possible? Is it practical? To get an answer to these questions, we need to look at the world. We have to look at societies who do not have such gradations. The sad fact is that almost the world over, almost every country and every religion claim that they have casteless and creedless societies. If their claim is true, there should be no class conflicts, right? But what is the ground reality? The whole world is a hotbed of confrontation between the haves and have nots, rich and poor, developed and undeveloped, the petroleum haves and the petroleum have nots, nuclear haves and nuclear aspiring, and nuclear have nots, Muslims and Jews, Shias and Sunnis, Catholics and Protestants, blacks and whites, capitalists and communists, ad infinitum ad nauseam. But if we try to understand the Hindu Varna Dharma, it is not meant as a higher lower differentiation, but somehow such a wrong opinion seems to have formed in the mind of both locals as well as outsiders. Locally, people have exploited this for their narrow sectarian advantages, while outsiders have exploited this for propaganda value to keep us divided during colonialism and or to spread their own religion. But whatever it may be, our response should be to try and remove such misconception and not do away with the time tested system. For the sake of discussion, even if we accept that there is a difference as upper and lower caste in India, my question is as to where is it not there in this world? As already mentioned in para above, gradations cannot be avoided in a world that is relative. Money and access to power makes all the difference everywhere. Even in United States of America, where everybody has enough of everything, the one car household is jealous of two car households, and so on. Millionaires feel jealous of multimillionaires. Communist nations have not been able to avoid conflicts and confrontations between the ruling elite and the common lot. The governments may keep such internal tensions bottled up. Such conflicts happens at the highest levels in communist countries, and we see that the only way a man in power can be removed is by being toppled. Today's supreme leader is not heard of the next day. Even his status are removed and vandalized. Instead of such man-made differentiation, which leads to competitiveness and hatred, isn't it better to keep it hereditary? Comparatively, the bitterness and hatred levels may be less. We may take it as fate or ordained by God. In truth, all jobs are essential for the society's well-being. Whatever the work, if we can do it efficiently and offer it to God, there is no better medicine than that for inner cleansing. Being divided by the castes, we have developed our culture and civilization to wonderful levels of unity and integrity. Other civilizations, thinking that they are one, have fallen to pieces and disappeared. Here, differences were at functional level and duties. When there was unity in diversity, we have thrived. We have suffered when some among us have exploited the situation with narrow minded selfishness, but the innate resiliency has enabled us to overcome such temporary aberrations. It is neither possible nor practical to place everyone at par by rule or law. It is the attitude and perspective that has to be changed to look at everyone as one. You can neither make everyone equal nor can we work in total different uh, compartmentalization. The traditionally well established Varna Dharma of Hinduism has provided the via media. For that purpose, I have come as a representative of Dharma Shastras. Functional differentiation and oneness of heart is the necessity. Please do not mix the two. Whatever may be the differences in the operational and functional areas, if there is love in the heart, there will be peace in the world. For ages, it has been like that in our country. Without a sense of superiority and narrow minded selfishness, with the intention that I am going this for the common good, if we carry out our hereditary duties, there will be no feelings of being higher or lower. We can face the world with confidence and certainty of success our as long as we carry out our collective Samanya Dharma and individual Varna Dharma. Om Shri Mahaperiva Sharanam.